What you'll see on this video is consistent with the trauma model, but a little bit subtle. And that is, you'll see me doing an assessment with Melissa Caldwell, who's role-playing a young woman with eating disorder problems. Not full anorexia or bulimia, so it would be eating disorder not otherwise specified. And her trauma is not what we normally would consider trauma. It's no physical abuse, no sexual abuse. It's really what didn't happen that's her difficulty. It's a childhood and a life that lacks nurturance, emotional bonding, connecting, and she's somewhat isolated and lonely. And the function of the eating disorder behavior is very clear. It's really mood state regulation. She's trying to self-soothe, dampen down her loneliness, her sadness, her isolation, with, in this instance, Krispy Kreme donuts. And the treatment plan really is, as you'll see, psychotherapy aimed at the underlying life problem, life difficulty, for which the eating disorder is really an attempted solution. And although I won't use the words locus of control shift in the session, you'll see that at the end it really starts tying into the locus of control shift. Self-blame, the put-down, the negative self-talk, the negative self-evaluation, all coming from her lonely, isolated childhood where she learned that she really isn't worthy of love, bonding, connection, and real emotional interaction. So it's a somewhat more subtle case than a classical full incest physical abuse family. The eating disorder isn't tied directly into sexual abuse or physical abuse, but nevertheless it fits within the trauma model. So welcome to my office. I'm Dr. Ross, as you know, and your family doctor asked me to speak to you for a little while.
Dr. White?
Yeah, he's concerned that you have some sort of eating disorder problem.
Yes, I know. That's my mother.
How is that your mother?
She called.
She called your doctor?
Yes.
What do you... Now, did she tell you about that, or he tell you about that, or how did you find out about that?
He told me about that.
And what did she say to him?
Well, she did too, because she called
okay.
me and told me I should go.
And so, what concern was she giving to him?
She just thinks that I have an eating disorder.
And do you know what she says to support that, or why she thinks that?
Unhealthy, she basically says unhealthy eating, I don't get enough exercise, and I overeat.
Okay. And so that's what she passed on to Dr. White.
Something like that, I'm sure.
And it sounds like you don't think you have an eating disorder, I'm guessing. Okay. Do you think that you have eating problems of any kind whatsoever?
Well, I mean, everybody could eat a little healthier, right?
Right.
But no, I don't think I have an eating disorder. That's just my mother.
Okay. Do you think that there's any reason whatsoever that you need to come and talk to me?
To please my mother and get her off my back.
Well, that's a good reason. Any other reason? Just in and of it yourself, for yourself? Life going okay?
Well, I mean, couldn't everybody stand to be a little happier, maybe?
Definitely.
But I mean, nothing out of the ordinary of anybody else.
Okay. So what I'd like to do, just to get an overall feel for your life and your life story, is to go back to your childhood and kind of walk through the story of your life, not in great detail, but to get a bit of an overview, just so I have a context.
Okay.
So, any brothers and sisters?
No.
So you were an only child, and your parents are both still alive. I know your mom is. And
Yeah,
they're still
very.
married?
Yeah.
And they're your biological parents. You were not adopted.
Right.
Okay. When you were growing up, any dogs, cats, pets in the house at all?
Oh, no.
And why do you say, oh no?
Well, they might make a mess. We were a very tidy family.
And what would happen if there was a mess? Was there ever a mess?
Yeah.
And what would happen?
Mom would get very upset.
Mm-hmm.
And she would just tell me how important it was for things to have order and to be in its place.
Okay, so then it wasn't so much that there would be consequences to you as Mom would get upset.
Well, that was a consequence, because
Right.
it wasn't fun to be around.
Okay, but there wasn't like a timeout or you're in your room or you lose privileges. It was more, the consequence is just the fact that you had upset your mom.
Right, and all of her, and it would take a while for her to settle down, so.
Okay, and that was upsetting to you, of course.
Yeah.
Especially since
Well,
there's no brothers and sisters and there's just you and your mom with your dad somewhere around.
Well, you feel like you do something wrong, and you just kind of want to keep things very calm and
Okay.
everything in its place. It was a very calm home.
Huh.
It was a good home. I mean, my parents did a good job.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't want to paint a picture that my parents were bad. They were good parents. They did
Right.
they did a good job. They provided for us, for me, and
So nobody hit you, beat you, physically abused you in any
No,
way?
no,
No sexual abuse in the home at all?
no.
And from the way you're describing the atmosphere so far, I'm guessing not any yelling, screaming, throwing stuff.
No, just upset. Mom would get, and when I say upset, she was more anxious. Like when stuff wasn't in place, she was just kind of, you could pick up on her anxiety, but it wasn't
They're
like
not
throwing
yelling.
a fit, no.
Right. Throwing a fit or throwing things
No,
or
just more anxious.
slamming doors.
And you could feel it. You could
Right.
pick up on the anxiety
Okay.
until we could get stuff back the way it was supposed to be.
Right. Which was all
She tends to be a little
orderly
anxious.
in its place.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when she was anxious, that would affect you.
She actually probably should be here instead of me.
You know, that's not an uncommon pattern, that really the parents are more the problem than the child, whether the child is 5, 15, 35, or 45, or 55, or 65.
She'd never come though.
Yeah. What was you've described partly, but when everything was orderly and everything was okay, what was the general atmosphere like at home?
Calm. I don't know how else to
Mm.
describe it. I mean, everything just kind of was.
How would your mom express affection or closeness or love?
I mean, she would do stuff for us.
Such as?
I mean, she kept the house clean and cooked all the meals. I mean,
So she would carry out mother, housekeeper, homemaker, wife functions.
mother functions.
Mother
yeah.
functions.
Yeah.
But if she's cleaning the house, she's also cleaning it for your dad simultaneously.
Right, but I'm just saying she
Right.
was. That's how she always, I think, showed us that showed me that she loved me.
Okay. And any hugging, cuddles, snuggling up?
No, they're not really.
Like read a book at bedtime?
I'm sure she did.
Can you specifically remember her doing that?
No, but I'm sure she did. I mean,
Okay.
all parents read to their kids.
Right. How about just snuggling up on the couch, maybe eating a little popcorn, watching TV together? Where you're actually like physically cozied up a bit?
No.
Not really?
I mean, we all sat on the couch, but
Right.
we weren't like touching.
Oh, okay. And how about,
I mean, that's not weird.
no, it's just a variation of normal. Some families are more, touchy-feely, huggy, and some are less.
We all kind of had, I guess, just our own little space. We didn't really.
Right. Would the same be true for the relationship between your parents? Not a lot of hugging, affection,
No,
kissing?
no.
Any sort of playfulness, joking,
I
joshing
mean, my
with
dad
each
could
other?
joke a little bit. He could tease a little bit.
What would that look like when he was teasing a little bit? So like one little short comment? Or
Yeah, just little
Ever-
witty comments every once in a
ever
while.
get boisterous about it?
No,
Or jostling her or
no.
nothing like that? And
There wasn't a lot of touching. It was more verbal teasing, a
Okay.
little.
Okay, but nobody would be like having a big belly laugh over anything.
No.
So it sounds like there's obviously people were connected to each other and interacting with each other, but there wasn't any big demonstration of any feeling other than anxiety maybe by your mom.
Right.
There's not huge anger, there wasn't huge laughter, there wasn't huge sadness, there wasn't huge particularly anything except maybe your mom's anxiety got fairly big.
Yeah, I guess.
That's a reasonable summary?
Yeah, I mean, everything just felt kind of in the middle, calm.
Right. And how do you remember in that kind of environment generally feeling?
Like, how old? Like when I was little?
Yeah, 5, 8, 10, 12.
Probably a little lonely.
It sounds kind of lonely, a little isolated. Not bad, not abusive, just kind of.
But, I mean, I didn't have any siblings, and
Right.
there weren't a lot of kids that would come over because we'd mess up the house, so I didn't get to have a lot of friends come over.
Right, so it sounds not so much that it's actively bad in any ways, it's just kind of quiet.
Lacking in fun.
Orderly, yeah, lacking in fun, kind of lonely, kind of sad, but not incredibly sad. But not sad
I don't know
like.
that I was sad, I was just a little lonely.
Okay.
I mean, I drew and I read all the time. I would sit in my room and read all the time, and I would draw a lot.
How did you do at school in those years?
Oh, I did really well. I mean, that was something to focus on, and I did really well.
How were things once you got to high school?
With my grades?
Grades first.
Yeah, grades were
Grades
fine.
are good.
Uh-huh.
How about life in general?
High school wasn't. I know most people loved high school. I really didn't like it very much.
What didn't you like about high school?
I mean, I know most people probably liked high school, but I really didn't have a lot of good friends, and I kind of felt like an I didn't really know how to fit in with
Is
people.
this all the way through?
Yeah, no, my junior summer, a lot of things changed, and when I came back my senior year, things were kind of better, I thought, but then
What was the difference? What changed over the summer?
I lost about 30 pounds, and then all of a sudden guys were interested. I mean, I never really fit in. I didn't know how to socialize very well.
So, over the summer, as in like 2 months while summer was off, you lost 30 pounds?
Yeah, 2 or 3 months, somewhere
So
in
you
there.
must have dieted pretty hard to achieve that.
There were days I would just eat an apple. I can totally remember just eating an apple, and I would try to sleep, go to bed really early so I wouldn't think about how hungry I was.
How much overweight do you think you were when you started dieting that summer?
How much overweight? I guess 30 pounds. I don't know.
30 pounds overweight?
I guess.
So then you got from there down to normal weight, you think?
Mhm.
And then, so when you start back in school, then you're down 30 pounds, and is that when the interest from the boys kicked in?
Yeah, I mean, for the first time, somebody actually noticed me, and before that, I didn't have girlfriends, I didn't have boyfriends, I just felt like I didn't know how to connect with anybody.
Did you do a little bit of dating, a lot of dating, or really a lot of dating, would you say?
A lot.
We're in high school years,
My
so
senior
junior
year.
or senior year?
No, not junior, just senior.
Senior year. And then how about when you went off to college?
My senior summer, in the beginning of my first year of college, people started becoming really mean,
Mean like how?
calling me names.
Such as?
Like when you date a lot of guys.
Oh, I see. So, do you think you were somewhat over promiscuous for a while there? Just in your own opinion?
People would probably think that.
Would you think that?
Yeah.
Would your mother think that?
Oh, yeah.
So she was on your case about it?
No, I didn't tell her.
Oh, you didn't tell her. Okay. But if you had told her, she would have been on
I
your
could
case
never
about
tell
it.
my mother that.
Right. And so you're off at college now, and you're on the party scene. So would that involve beer and drinking too?
Yeah.
Did you drink a little bit or quite a lot?
I think I did like every other freshman.
Would that, so on a
On the
weekend?
weekends.
So how many
Friday
beer,
night and Saturday night.
How many beer would we be talking about on a Friday night or a Saturday night?
I don't know.
More than 5?
Yeah.
In the 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 kind of ballpark?
Yeah. It was kind of over the evening,
Over
so
the
it
evening.
wasn't like an
Did you ever
hour.
get drunk enough to pass out?
Yeah.
Yeah. How often would that be?
I don't know for sure. It just got really bad. People really.
This is the name calling and
Yeah.
insults.
Yeah.
And how did you react to that?
It really hurt my feelings. I mean, I've never had any close girlfriends, and then all of a sudden I went from they didn't notice me at all to they're saying really mean, cruel things.
But you must have been getting a fair bit of attention from boys in that period then.
A lot.
So that felt nice.
I thought it did.
Did you change your mind about that?
Yeah.
And are we still in your freshman year now? When you're changing your mind about it?
I would say by my freshman summer, I just decided I had a really bad incident with one of I thought was a friend, a girl, and some things that she had told people and some things she had written down about me, and a lot of it was true. So it was just too hard to have all these people saying this stuff about me.
So what did you do?
I decided that summer that the guys really didn't like me because they didn't like me when I was 30 pounds heavier. It's just all of a sudden they liked me when I lost the weight. So it wasn't really me. It was just my body.
Right.
And then...
Which is probably a very accurate assessment.
And I figured out that that's what was going on. And it was hurting my relationships with the few friends I had, girls, and the guys didn't really care.
So the dating and the partying got shut down.
Yeah.
How about the drinking?
I drank for a little longer.
More on a solitary kind of basis?
And that's when I kind of started gaining some of the weight back, but I didn't really care 'cause
So I think it said up until this time, you maintained that, when you lost the 30 pounds, you maintained that. Okay, and then, late freshman into sophomore summer, into the beginning of the sophomore year, I guess, the weight started to creep back on?
Yeah, 'cause I was drinking too much and started gaining weight, and I just didn't, when I started gaining weight, guys started leaving me alone.
And so you were...
It's really pretty pathetic.
It is, yeah. So you were feeling better about things because you weren't getting the name calling, and you weren't the promiscuous girl, and you weren't having all this phony attention, but then you were also feeling a little bit more lonely, isolated at the same time. It's kind of a trade-off, I imagine.
Yeah, but it was better than the other at the time.
And then what's happened? You're 35 now? So this would have been, you're around 20-ish at this point. What's happened in the 15 years then from 20 to 35?
I mean, I finished school.
Mm-hmm. You work at a travel agency?
And I mean, I like my job, and I like my boss, and I like everybody there, and I like my job.
What does life look like currently in terms of socialization and activities on the weekend and so on?
I mean, my mother thinks I need to be going out more. My mother, if I would just lose the weight, then I'd have more dates. She's really interested in me getting married and having children.
That's pretty normal for a mom, but she harps on a lot?
Oh my gosh. I don't even pick up the phone on Fridays. It's painful because she's wanting to know who I'm going out with, what I'm doing. If I would just lose a little bit of weight, then guys would ask me out again, and do you remember when you were in school? And because she doesn't know all the other stuff that happened.
Where you're at weight-wise now, how does that compare to after you lost the 30 pounds? Are you up from that?
I'm probably 20 pounds.
20 pounds up from...
Oh, I'm not as heavy as I was in high school. I mean, that was the
before
biggest
you
I ever
lost the
was.
30 pounds?
I'm probably 10 pounds from my heaviest weight.
Oh, okay. So you're still 10 pounds down from your heaviest weight in
Yeah,
high school?
yeah.
And 20 pounds up from when you lost that 30 pounds?
Right.
Okay. And your mom
That's
still...
not an eating disorder, so I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why everybody's thinking. I'm still within that little chart. I don't know why everybody's thinking.
Well, so far I would agree with you that you don't really have a full long-term chronic
I mean,
eating
I'm
disorder.
not anorexic. I mean,
No,
duh.
I agree with you. By definition, you can't be anorexic if you're either normal weight or 10, 20 pounds overweight.
Right. And I'm not obese.
Right, that's true. What are your eating patterns currently then?
I think like everybody else's.
So you're somewhat lonely, isolated. Do you go out on the weekends with people from work or anybody else?
Not very often. Not very
Hmm.
often. I just like, my mother can't understand this. I just like to be home, get a movie, just kick back. You've had a long week of working and just chill out. I get caught up on laundry and do a little yard work, and I'm just kind of one of these home people. I just like to be home.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. When you're watching the movie, do you have some popcorn or anything?
No, that would be, I think, when I treat myself.
Treat yourself food-wise, you mean?
Yeah.
What would treating yourself consist of?
It's not very healthy.
So, describe it.
I love those, I love donuts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get like a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts.
Krispy Kreme? The regular ones, or you got a, like, kind of variety?
The variety with all the different stuff.
Okay. And how long do those last you?
I mean, I'll eat them while I watch the movie.
On Friday night?
Yeah,
Okay. And do you watch a movie on Saturday night?
sometimes.
And do you do another box of Krispy Kremes for Saturday night?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. And then that would be quite a few calories. 2 boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts. Do you know how many calories that would be?
I don't even want to know. No.
Yeah. It's more than 5 or 10 total. So then you're aware that it's a bunch of calories.
Yeah.
So then what do you do about that, the fact that you've taken on those calories?
Well, that might be why I've gained a little bit of weight back.
Mhm.
I mean, it's no big deal. If you eat a lot one day, eat a little less the next. If you splurge on the weekend, eat a little less during the week. I mean, that's not that big a deal. That's just kind of balancing it all out.
Sure. What is when you're on a day where you're eating a little less, what do you eat on that day?
I don't know.
Well, you said back in high school when you're losing weight, some days you eat just an apple. So when you're compensating for the
Well,
Krispy
if I'm not
Kreme
real
of-
hungry, on Monday I may just have a piece of fruit.
for the whole day.
Yeah, because I'm not real hungry because I've had all those other calories from the
Mm.
weekend and I'm just not that hungry.
What do you think the weekend would be like if you didn't have any Krispy Kremes or any other sweets or cakes, or you just ate kind of a regular average amount? Say like,
It'd be fine.
say it sounds like maybe on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, those would be the days where you would eat closer to a balanced diet.
It depends.
Just kind of like on a typical week. Tell me if this is the accurate description of the pattern. On the Friday, Saturday, there's more of the Krispy Kreme, more calories get loaded on. Then maybe on the Sunday, Monday, those would be the days where you eat maybe even just one piece of fruit, one apple, or minimal amount.
I'd say more Monday, because Sunday's
Monday.
still part of the weekend.
Oh, okay, so there could be more donuts on Sunday.
Maybe.
Okay, so then Monday, you're down to maybe just one apple type thing.
Yeah, because I'm not hungry after I eat all that stuff.
So, but then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you'd be more back into kind of healthy, in the general ballpark of
I'd
healthy?
eat, yeah, probably so, a little bit, because I feel like I've had my day where I've really
Okay.
backed off and I can
So-
start eating a little bit more.
So on the weekends, if you ate the way you do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, would the weekend be fine?
Say that again? If on the weekends.
You ate the same kind of pattern as you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, would the weekends be fine then?
No, I'd weigh a ton if I ate like that the whole time.
Okay, I thought on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it was more of a normal balanced diet, no? Or you're still restricting?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
I mean, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I mean.
Tuesday's still restrictive. I'd say
So-
Wednesday and Thursday I start feeling like it's kind of feeling balanced out and I
Okay.
can eat a little bit
So
more
if
normal.
on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you ate the same way as you do on Wednesday, Thursday, what would the weekend be like then?
There'd be nothing really to look forward to. I mean, that's how I kind of treat myself. I kind of reward myself for a hard.
And if there was nothing to look forward to and you didn't have that reward, where would that leave you? Feeling how?
Well, then I don't feel like I'd have anything to look forward to.
So therefore you would feel how?
But my job, I mean, I like my job.
But I'm talking about on the weekend when you're not at your job. If you ate on the weekend the way you do Wednesday, Thursday, so you didn't have the reward,
Weekends would be hard,
hard like how?
like lonely.
So it seems like you're pretty isolated and pretty lonely currently, and it sounds like you have been really since
But I like
college.
being home. I mean, I just like to be home.
If you like being home, why do you have to reward yourself with all those donuts in order not to feel lonely and isolated?
I just like being home, and I like being able to do whatever I want to and eat the foods I want to, and I like the way they taste.
Okay. Mostly I disagree with your mother, but I agree with her a little bit. So
Great.
Let me explain this. Number one, it's clear that you do
If
not.
I lost more weight, then guys would date me. Is that what you agree with?
That might be true, but that's not necessarily a good thing or a healthy thing or something I recommend. But you've already experienced that in
That's
college.
terrible.
But that's about the guys, not about you.
Well, I want a guy that's going to like me regardless of my weight.
Exactly. So you don't want to date those kind of guys who are only interested in you if you weigh such and such.
And I won't know that if I'm super thin. I won't know if they're interested in me or my.
Excellent point. I agree with that totally.
So donuts are fine.
Well, let me get back to why I agree with your mother a little bit and why I disagree with her mostly. First of all, it's totally clear you don't have full anorexia nervosa because you don't weigh 82 pounds, and we don't need to start an IV or admit you to hospital.
And I wasn't like that in high school.
No, but you were doing some pretty heavy restricting to lose 30 pounds in 2 months. If you had
It
kept
may have
going,
been 3. I don't know.
even in 3 months, if you had kept going down that slippery slope, you would have got down to 90, 85, 80, and then you would have had full anorexia. So you were kind of on the slippery slope, but you got yourself off. So you didn't actually meet criteria for anorexia nervosa, but you had some fairly intensive restricting behavior there. Then, if we come fast forward to the present, the recent past, again, clearly you don't have anorexia now. Unless you haven't told me about it, it doesn't sound like you make yourself throw up, or
No.
you use laxatives, or you don't exercise like a fiend to burn off calories. But you do, I'd say, binge. Now that when you eat a whole box of Krispy Kremes
But
by yourself.
People on Thanksgiving binge. People on Christmas binge.
True, but you it's not just the food itself or just the number of calories, it's the whole picture. So you do take in a lot of calories. And it's not a social occasion. Thanksgiving is a social occasion where people get together and they exchange a lot of emotions and they eat turkey and potatoes and they pig out, but it's social, it's part of a social ritual, it's recognized by the culture, there's a lot of family interaction and meaning to it. Plus, the food is reasonably healthy. You do your overeating, you could quibble and debate about whether to formally, technically call it a binge or not, but 12 Krispy Kreme donuts in isolation is kind of a solitary, lonely, self-soothing, self-rewarding behavior that obviously isn't healthy.
It's kind of like my drinking when I was a sophomore.
Yeah, kind
when
of.
I would drink by myself.
And you know it's not healthy because then you have to compensate by restricting, at least for a day, if not for 2 days.
But doesn't that make it healthy? Because I realize that I need to balance it.
It's not a balanced, healthy diet that goes from Monday to Sunday. It's kind of a healthy, balanced diet for Wednesday, Thursday. Then it's more of a binging style eating pattern for the weekend, and then it's a restricting to compensate.
You don't think you just look at the whole collective?
No, when you look at the whole collective and you call it healthy, that's because it's healthy every day. You got your major food groups, you got a reasonable amount of calories every day, reasonable amount of exercise. You've got a pattern that's got a little phase of reasonably healthy. Even if we got a dietitian in there, we might have a little more criticism even of the Wednesday, Thursday, but on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're more in a binging mode, and on later part of Sunday going into Monday, Tuesday sort of thing, you're more in a restricting mode. So it's not quite extreme enough that I'd officially call it bulimia, because for one thing, you don't purge. If we want to put a psychiatric label on it, I would feel as a psychiatrist quite justified in saying this is eating disorder not otherwise specified, which means you have some eating disorder behaviors and problems, it's not full anorexia, it's not full bulimia. But the reason it seems to me a problem is not because it's, quotes, an eating disorder, or because we put that label on you. The problem seems to be that you have kind of a lonely, isolated, not very socially connected life, and one way you have to compensate for that is soothing yourself with the reward of donuts. So it's not really the donuts and the eating pattern that's the problem. That's really more the solution to the underlying problem, which is kind of similar to your childhood. It's not that there's anything all that wrong or bad, you're just lacking a bunch of stuff that's good. And what was missing was just a emotional bonding, connecting, interacting, sharing.
Well, I do really well. I mean, at my job, they think I do a great job with connecting with customers, and I can engage with them and connect with them, and I mean, I can connect with people.
Which is wonderful, that's good. So in the job sphere, it sounds like your life is going pretty okay.
I can do that.
But in the personal life sphere, it's not going quite so okay. So the good news is you have the ability to socialize and connect to people and bond. So therefore that's something you can build on. But somehow you're not mobilizing that, getting that going in your personal life. Which reminds me, I didn't really ask whether you've done much dating since college.
I mean, just a little here and there. I have friends that'll fix me up with someone, and just a little. Not much.
I thought your family doctor said something about an engagement, though. Weren't you engaged at one point?
That's my mother telling him that.
So why did your mother think you were engaged?
Because I was.
Oh. Well, that's more than just a little occasional dating.
Well, I mean, okay.
So tell me about that guy.
You were just asking about dating in general, so
Okay.
I said I didn't date that much.
So how long did you go out with that guy?
About a year and a half, probably. Yeah.
And how long ago was that? When did you?
2 years ago.
That's when you split up, 2 years ago? So it was like 3.5 years to 2 years ago? And were you actually formally engaged?
Yeah.
So you must have been fairly serious about that guy then.
Yeah. He was probably the only decent guy I've ever gone out with.
What happened? Why didn't you end up married?
I ran him away.
How'd you do that?
I didn't mean to. said he was tired of, he couldn't love me till I learned to love myself. He said I was too critical on myself, too hard on myself, always putting myself down.
What do you put yourself down about?
I just never, I can't lose weight like I used to when I was younger, and I couldn't lose the weight, and I just always felt like I wanted to look better for him. And he always said that he loved me no matter what I weighed, and that the only thing that would drive him away would never be my weight, but would be all the things I would say about myself.
So, watching you attack yourself was pretty painful to him, it sounds like.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's not the world's only perfect guy, but it sounds like he loved you unconditionally.
Well, he would have stayed if he had it.
Yeah. Well, he loved you unconditionally, at least as far as your weight's concerned.
The only
His loving you was not contingent on your weighing such and such. He wasn't really concerned.
That's what he said, but I would never believe him. And I always told him, you want me to be skinnier, I know that you do, and you think I would look better. And
how did you know that was true about him?
Because that's every guy.
Okay. So there's not one single guy on the planet who's willing to lighten up concerning 10 or 20 pounds?
I don't know if part of me believes that he really did love me the way I was, and another part of me always felt like, in the back of his mind, he really thought I should lose more weight, that I'd be a lot more attractive if I would.
So you had doubts about what he really felt about you, but really it was about how you felt about yourself.
I don't know. I
You-
mean,
you
part of
were
me
f-
still wonders if he didn't think that.
Yeah, and maybe he did. I mean, you can't read his mind. But it sounds like the concern was not, certainly wasn't what he was saying, he felt.
No, he said that he was fine with me. It's just how I constantly don't trust what he says and don't believe him and all the mean stuff. He says he thought I was too hard on myself.
So let's tell me if this is correct.
I don't really like to talk about this.
We're only going to talk about it in a minute or two. But tell me if this is accurate. Really, the problem was that you were afraid that he secretly agreed with your view of you. He said he disagreed with it, but you were afraid that he secretly agreed with your view of you, which is, unless you're skinny, you're just not attractive enough and lovable enough.
I don't think I think that.
That's what you just said. You're afraid that he really wouldn't love you and wouldn't really be attracted to you unless you were 10
But that's what I think
pounds
he
down.
thinks. Because that's what all guys think. I think guys should love me regardless of what my weight is.
But what I'm saying is maybe that's what you think. This is something that people do all the time. It's called projection. And what you do is you have certain thoughts and feelings about yourself. You project them on the other person, and you're concerned that they're thinking and feeling those things about you.
That's how guys are.
True, but it looks to me like this is more your thoughts and feelings about yourself.
That's what he would say.
Right. So you guys talked about this subject. He said,
Relentless.
that's how you see it, but that's not how I see it.
Right.
Right.
But I just kind of felt like there was always going to be this other side of him that would come out and tell me later he couldn't be with me.
Okay. I think we can stop because it's clear to me what I'm going to recommend to you. Okay, so let me just tell you my basic conclusion here. First of all, I don't know you thoroughly well, and so this is just my conclusion based on talking to you for this period of time. I think that in terms of writing in your chart, diagnosis, the eating disorder not otherwise specified fits. Could also start considering maybe mood disorder not otherwise specified, but I'm not going to write that down. The reason I would consider it is you have this underlying kind of ocean of lonely, not very happy, kind of socially isolated.
Just on the weekends.
Just on the weekends, but in your personal life, it fills a lot of your personal life. So I wouldn't call that a psychiatric disorder, I'd call that a life problem.
Okay.
And you're compensating for the life problem with the eating disorder type behavior. So it's really the absence of self-love, self-worth, feeling okay about yourself, plus the angry, critical attacks on yourself, putting yourself down and telling yourself that you're just not intrinsically lovable and that there's not anybody on the planet who's ever going to be interested in you if your weight is off the slightest little bit. So it's all those negative feelings and thoughts and beliefs about yourself that I really think should be the focus of some therapy. And a therapist, the one I have in mind, can work with you on that and really help you kind of out of that rut. Start building more of a connected social life, maybe get back into the dating world a little bit at a time, and then you won't need to compensate by having the eating disorder behavior. And then that could kind of melt away with a little extra help from a dietitian. That make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if you get my mother out of the picture, I mean, I would like to someday get married.
Well, sure. But you can't get married if you're at home watching TV, eating 12 Krispy Kremes every weekend. You can't meet guys, in that kind of scenario. So something's got to change a little bit, and I think we need to look at a step at a time kind of change so that you're not overwhelmed by just throwing yourself back into the dating scene.
Well, maybe I could meet a guy that would sit home with me and eat Krispy Kremes.
I think the Krispy Kreme Corporation would be happy about that plan.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. The goal is not to never eat another donut for the rest of your life. It's not a crime to eat the odd Krispy Kreme donut. And so that's what healthy eating is all about. It's balanced, it's reasonable, and you can have some desserts thrown in. That's where the dietitian would come in on that part of it.
So you're saying it's really more about the loneliness?
Yeah. Your problem is not donuts, it's loneliness, exactly.
Which has been there off and on my whole life.
Absolutely. Through no fault of your own and no particular fault of your parents. It's just the way things have worked out for you so far in life. So what I'll do then is I'll give you a card with this therapist's name and phone number.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get a consent from you. I'll write a letter, just a one-page letter summarizing what I've just said, mail it to the therapist, and then you can phone the therapist to set up an appointment. That sound okay?
Okay.
Good.
What are you going to tell Dr. White? The eating disorder
I'll tell
thing?
him that I think you have some eating disorder behaviors and problems, but not really a formal eating disorder, and that he ought to relax about that, and he ought to try and de-escalate your mom about that a little bit.
Good. Especially on the second part.
Yeah. Well, just trying to help her. Glad you came in. I think this will be good for you. I think you and this therapist ought to connect.
Okay.
If not, if there's any problem with that, get back to me and I can think of another therapist.
Okay.
Yeah, well, good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.